So let's talk about that ultimate, really persistent question. What is the purpose of a human life?
Hmm.
We usually think of this question as, only surfacing in moments of great crisis or loss.
Right.
But what's so fascinating is that it also comes up in moments of great success, when we achieve everything we set out to, and realize that, well, achievement alone just isn't enough.
It's that moment when wealth, status, or, career success,
Mm,
they just can't fill the hole
yeah.
because they don't address the fundamental design of existence.
Exactly. And historically, the answers have been so siloed. Philosophy says one thing, psychology says another.
And spiritual traditions speak a completely different language. It's hard to get them all in the same room.
But that's what makes this deep dive so unique. We're synthesizing material from a brilliant literary premise, a series of imaginary conversations moderated by the historian Karen Armstrong.
And she put some incredible figures together. I mean, you have Plato, Carl Jung, the Buddha, Viktor Frankl.
All alongside modern channeled entities like Seth and Bashar. It's quite a lineup.
It is. And the goal was to see where these seemingly disparate viewpoints actually agree on the mechanics of existence. So we're treating this material purely as a synthesis of information.
Right. No belief is required from you, the listener.
Not at all. Just curiosity about why this strange human experience is structured the way it is.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Our mission here isn't to find a single definitive answer. It's more about exploring the operational manual of being human.
Is life a test? A classroom? Something else entirely. Why is there so much suffering?
And the biggest puzzle of all for me, if we supposedly choose our life path before birth, why do we have to forget everything the moment we arrive?
We're looking for those subtle but, profound agreements on the constraints and opportunities of being human.
And finding those surprising divergences that can completely reframe the meaning of your daily choices.
So let's start at the core conflict. When you put all these sources together, there's a major disagreement right out of the gate on what this life even is.
A test, a classroom, or a creative experiment.
Well, the initial conflict is really a debate between, let's call it memory and creation.
Okay.
Take Plato. He argues that life is not a test in the sense of a moral judgment, but it's a struggle for recollection.
Recollection.
Yeah. Birth, in his model, is an act of forgetting. The soul once saw truth directly in the realm of forms, and life is this difficult, constant attempt to just remember that truth.
So that's a pretty passive model, isn't it? The knowledge is already there, and our whole job is just recovery.
Exactly. But the psychological and existential sources, they immediately push back on that.
I can imagine.
Viktor Frankl, for instance, he gently but very firmly disagreed with that idea. He basically argued that if life were only about recollection, then suffering would be totally redundant.
Why go through all the trauma just to remember something?
Precisely. For Frankl, meaning isn't recovered from the past, it is created through responsibility in the present.
That's a huge shift in perspective, a really huge shift.
It is. This life, because it's finite and constrained, it carries this urgency. Choice here, under pressure and limitation, becomes irreversible. It's definitive in a way that, eternity can't be.
So you aren't just remembering what you decided, you are actively deciding what you become moment to moment.
Yes. And that sets up this powerful duality for you, the listener. Is the spiritual path about finding a hidden truth inside you, or is it about creating new value out in the world?
And then you have a figure like Paramahansa Yogananda, who sort of tries to synthesize both.
Right. Yogananda calls Earth a classroom, but he clarifies that from God's point of view, it's a playground of divine self-discovery.
A playground. I like that.
So we're not being tested just to be judged. We're being trained to remember our oneness with the infinite. The test is simply whether we can choose to be playful and loving while we remember.
And of course, we can't forget Carl Jung, who anchors this whole conversation in psychology. For him, this life is the individuation process.
Right. Individuation, meaning the soul arrives with potential and also shadow, and life is the tension between what we are and what we're meant to become.
And the critical part of Jung's argument is that the unconscious has to become conscious here, right? In this world.
Yes, in the world of matter and decision. Otherwise, he says, that unconscious potential just becomes your fate.
Okay, so this is where it starts to get really interesting, pulling us from classical thought into metaphysics.
If we pull way back to the cosmic view, entities like Bashar offer a radically different operating manual.
Not a playground, not a school.
Not in the human sense, no. Bashar describes Earth as a frequency exploration chamber.
A frequency exploration chamber. What does that mean?
We come here specifically to experience the feeling of separation of limitation, because the density of this physical realm amplifies consequence. He calls this lifetime high resolution.
High resolution, that's a great term. It suggests that a small shift in attitude or belief here produces these enormous, immediate ripple effects.
Exactly. It's not about passing or failing a test. It's about generating a unique, high-intensity perspective that just can't exist in less dense realities.
And that novelty is the universe learning about itself through the lived experience of you.
Yes, and if that's the operating system, it sets the stage perfectly for the next big question: reincarnation.
Right. Is returning to Earth a mercy, an educational necessity? Or is it something more like a trap? Why do some souls seem to come back hundreds of times while others are, one and done?
For the Buddha, the mechanism is entirely mechanical. It's psychological. The force driving the soul back to the wheel is simply the persistence of craving, desire, fear, and ignorance.
So it's about grasping.
It's all about grasping. When that attachment ends, there's no energetic force left to pull you back, and the cycle just breaks.
So if the Buddha is right, the only reason you're back is because you wanted something or avoided something too strongly last time.
That's the idea. But then Edgar Cayce suggested something slightly different, focusing more on balance. Cayce said the driver is unfinished patterns and imbalances seeking harmony. It's not a punishment. It's a self-selected necessity.
But the lessons must be subtle.
Incredibly subtle. Learning genuine patience or unconditional forgiveness, that can take many lifetimes to get right.
This is where we have to ask the hard question, though. Dolores Cannon's work, through all that regression therapy, provides a critical counterpoint that really challenges the whole trap theory.
It does. Her work showed that souls often volunteer repeatedly for this, for accelerated growth.
So they're choosing it.
That's what the accounts from her clients suggest. They choose the challenges, the parents, the difficulty, even the suffering, and they do it deliberately.
Why?
Because the difficulty of Earth accelerates growth. They consistently say things like, I chose this life, with full awareness of the contracts involved.
But wait, if souls volunteer for this level of suffering, isn't that a kind of spiritual masochism? How do they justify that cost?
Through efficiency. It's that high-resolution factor again. The soul is optimizing for growth, and Earth is the place to do it fastest.
But to complicate things even more, Seth challenges that whole linear view of hundreds of returns.
Right. Seth suggests that what looks like a sequence of lives in linear time is actually, get this, simultaneous explorations of probability.
Simultaneous, so all my past lives are happening right now.
Sort of. Imagine your soul as a hub, and all your lives are concurrent explorations of every viable path.
Yeah.
When you transition, you just integrate all those parallel experiences. The lessons are cumulative, but not necessarily sequential.
Wow. That makes the stakes in this present moment even higher.
It really does. And then finally, Sri Aurobindo adds another layer, a collective purpose.
Okay.
He says reincarnation serves an evolutionary movement. We don't just return to resolve personal karma. We come back to participate in the gradual transformation of global consciousness itself.
So certain souls volunteer to embody, say, new levels of creativity or compassion to help lift the whole collective.
That's the idea. It's a team effort.
So if that's the case, if souls are volunteering for this high-stakes growth, why does Earth have to feel so uniquely dense and painful? Is it just a school, or is it more like a pressure chamber designed to break you?
Many thinkers agree on what they call the density requirement. George Gurdjieff, who was notoriously blunt.
He didn't pull punches.
Not at all. He said most humans are just asleep. And Earth isn't gentle because comfort allows that sleep to continue. Friction is required. Shock is the catalyst for awakening.
And Rudolf Steiner mirrored this, saying Earth is where spirit gets compressed into matter.
Exactly. That resistance is essential because it's what forges real moral freedom. Without strong, difficult resistance, any virtue you gain is, well, it's cheap. It dissolves easily.
And Simone Weil put it so simply, Earth is spiritual gravity.
It's a profound framing. Affliction is the source that prevents the spirit from just floating away into abstraction. It strips away illusion and forces you to confront truth in its most difficult material form.
Okay, so if density and resistance are required, is suffering actually necessary? This is the central ethical dilemma, isn't it?
It is. And Kubler-Ross offered a crucial insight here that changes everything. She said, suffering is not the teacher. Our response to pain is.
Oh, that's good.
You can endure tremendous suffering and learn absolutely nothing, or you can endure a small amount of pain and awaken completely. The teaching happens in the reaction, not the event itself.
That puts the power back inside you. The suffering isn't the point. How you wield your free will within the suffering is the point.
Exactly. And Bashar clarifies the distinction perfectly. He says suffering is not designed into the system. Resistance is.
Okay, what's the difference?
Suffering emerges when that natural resistance, the pushback of dense matter, is misunderstood as punishment or unfairness, rather than just being
It's
feedback.
like a spiritual gym. The weight isn't punishing you, it's just providing the resistance you need for growth.
That's perfect analogy. And the soul chooses this gym, despite the pain, because Earth compresses time.
Right.
What might take eons to integrate somewhere else can happen in a single high-intensity lifetime here. That's why the cost is so high, and why souls choose this simulation repeatedly.
Which brings us to the most perplexing part of all this amnesia. If we choose the life, the lessons, the difficulty, why on earth must we forget everything?
It seems like a design flaw, doesn't it?
It really does. If I knew the answers to the test, I could learn even faster, couldn't I?
Well, first we have to define what graduation even looks like, because the definition of success informs why we have to forget.
So, what does it mean to graduate from this pressure chamber?
For Plato, it was recollection restored, no longer mistaking shadows for reality. For the Buddha, it was simpler, the ending of grasping.
You don't escape Earth. Earth just no longer binds your consciousness.
Precisely. And Seth added a more pragmatic view. You graduate when Earth's specific constraints, its questions its gravity, they
Yeah.
no longer generate novelty for you,
You've learned all you can from this particular setup. Time for a new class.
basically. Now back to the mystery of memory. If forgetting causes so much pain and confusion, why is it so vital?
This is where the Jungian perspective feels so essential.
It really is. Jung argued that memory would completely collapse the individuation process. If you knew the entire script in advance, knew your fate, knew the outcome of every choice, virtue would be purely mechanical.
There would be no merit in choosing good over evil if you already knew the reward.
None at all. Forgetting is the mechanism that allows for a genuine encounter with choice. Swedenborg said the same thing centuries earlier. Amnesia protects freedom.
Otherwise, your love would be imitation, not sincere conviction.
Exactly. You forget so that your compassion isn't just procedural. It has to be discovered under pressure for it to be real.
So forgetting isn't the tragedy we think it is.
Right.
It's literally the price of sincerity.
That's a perfect way to put it. You forget the contract so that when you choose compassion and courage despite the amnesia, it's a pure, unadulterated act of free will.
And Seth drives that point home,
Mm.
saying forgetting is a constraint chosen for intensity.
You wanted surprise. You wanted consequence. You wanted to discover who you would be without the script. Otherwise, Earth would just be theater, not participation.
You forget so you can truly participate. That's a powerful idea. And that leads us to our final segment, Beyond Earth. If this isn't the final destination, where do souls go next? Rest. Or new responsibilities.
The sources are overwhelmingly unanimous on this. It's preparation for more participation. This is a training ground, not a retirement home.
So we aren't just sitting on a cloud somewhere.
No. Rudolf Steiner and Dolores Cannon both describe souls moving to other planetary realms or taking on non-physical service roles almost immediately. Were reassigned.
So what kind of roles?
They become specialists. They participate in shaping the collective forces, the ideals, the inspirations that later influence human evolution. Bashar calls them observers, guides, and are architects of probability.
Architects of probability. So identity becomes function. And choice expands to the scale of reality creation itself.
Yes, moving beyond the personal and into the cosmic. Hermes Trismegistus had this beautiful ancient analogy. He said the soul returns to the work of the cosmos.
The drop learns the ways of the ocean.
That's the one. The soul that has known matter and successfully wrestled with the spiritual gravity of Earth becomes an indispensable bridge between worlds.
And this is where Karen Armstrong's final synthesis just pulls all these threads together so perfectly. Earth is not a detour in the soul's journey.
It's a forge.
It's a forge. And what we become here, the qualities we manage to extract from all the pain and confusion, determines not just where we go, but what we are capable of carrying with us.
We're accumulating functional capacity. Real tools.
So what does this all mean for you right now as you're listening? We've explored that life isn't a simple test, but a meeting point between memory and choice.
That suffering reveals our response, and that forgetting is the crucial mechanism that ensures sincerity.
And the core agreement across Plato, the Buddha, Frankel, it's that whether you believe this life is a one-off or part of something larger, the weight of responsibility is exactly the same.
How you love, how you respond to affliction, how you choose clarity in the fog of amnesia, these are the lived realities that matter, regardless of which cosmic model you adopt.
And the most sobering and, I think, unifying idea from all of this is that we are not preparing for simple paradise or eternal rest. We are preparing for participation.
Participation in the ongoing creation of reality.
So that question, why are we here? It doesn't demand your belief, it just asks for your presence.
And that presence, that conscious, difficult effort to make a clear choice in the face of uncertainty,
Hmm.
maybe that's already the beginning of the most high-resolution answer you could ever possibly generate.